Impact confirmed. The Slayer has been activated.
Doom: The Dark Ages is certainly a bit more medieval than you might have expected. The Doom Slayer's now dropped into a sort of techno-Middle Ages. There are still giant robots and weapons powered by bubbling spheres of purest plasma, but there are also allies decked out in chainmail and armour plating, and there's much talk of keeps and castles and sorcery. It's medieval adjacent then, as much fantasy as it is sci-fi. We've heard of certain talented artists who like to find old charity shop pictures of ancient bucolic scenes and then add modern video game characters into them. The Dark Ages feels a bit like that. Because the Doom Slayer is now stuck in this rejigged Middle Ages, he's got a cool shield, and while the shield can be used to deflect damage, and is right at the core of a pleasantly simple parry system in which you wait for neon green coloured attacks to arrive and then knock them back where they came from for massive damage, you can also use it for much more kinetic stuff. You can do a shield charge if you lock onto a foe or a weak bit of scenery, which makes you extremely mobile, zipping huge distances across the map like a holy snowplow to cave someone's head in or open up a new route. That is fun. But the shield also reacts in interesting ways with hot metal. This sounds complex, but it isn't really. Enemies and parts of the environment often come with armour and shields, and the more damage they soak up, the hotter they get. When they're so hot that they're glowing a luminous coral colour, you fire off the shield and it reacts with the hot metal in an explosive way. If this is part of the environment you're targeting, it means you're cutting chains and lowering doors and dropping crates into play. If it's a combat moment, it means that if you see a phalanx of shielded enemies up ahead and you get them all nice and hot and coral, you can then blast them all apart with one chuck of the shield. The shield then returns automatically, a la Thor by the way, and it also has chainsaw teeth on its edges, because of course it does. This is Doom. It's funny to think that From Software once took shields out of Bloodborne because shields made players behave conservatively. That's true for the kind of games From makes, certainly. In these toxic worlds where life was precarious, players would hunker down behind that vital bit of safety, striking only when they knew they could get a shot in, and in turn, advance slowly. They would literally play the waiting game. That's not how shields work in Doom though. You don't hunker behind that toothed shield at all, even if you do raise it in perfectly timed bursts for a bit of parrying. The shield is accelerative. Attacks are reflected faster than they came in, the bash is virtually a teleport, and the shield toss is both a weapon and puzzle solution in one, hitting distant switches, triggering actual teleport spots, sending the gears of machinery turning, and all that frantic jazz. At its best then, the shield makes you feel invincible, and not at all because it blocks attacks. It is all attack all the time. Blocking attacks is basically the least of its charms. And the shield is at the heart of what the developers promise is a new direction for Doom, or rather an old direction. You see, we're going back to a heavier, more grounded kind of shooter here. The Slayer is more like a tank again. Projectiles move slowly so you can dodge and parry them. Most of the action unfolds at eyeline height and there's no double jump to distract you. It's all about being extremely large and powerful. The Dark Ages then is grounded, but it's not exactly slow, if that's what you've been fearing. Tactical is what it is really. It's a game in which you need to know who to kill first and how best to kill them. Levels are filled with astonishingly large open areas, practically whole battlefields where enemies drop in and spawn all around and you have to take them all out. Some are simple popcorn foes, but others need a shield bash or a melee. Some are impervious to certain attacks, so you need to save stamina for the attacks that will do them in. The shield bashes or melees that have a recharge, say. Some need you to whittle down other enemies until you can have at them. The key is, it's not just mindless shooting, it's mindful shooting. You need to shoot people in the right order a lot of the time, and finding the right order is where you get experimentation and improvisation. It's where you get to feel cool because you thought to do something cool. And yes, as mentioned, there is an increased focus on melee. There are 3 distinct melee weapons, all with their own upgrade trees and recharge gimmicks. But it's worth mentioning that melee here often feels an awful lot like shooting. It is Doom, after all. So this becomes a question of how to shoot these particular people. Shoot them with a gun, in which case the bullets are the bullets. Shoot them with a fling of the shield, in which case the shield is a bullet. Or with a shield bash or melee attack in which, well, you are the bullet. It all feels very harmonious, and that's before you get to the reinvention of the BFG, which is so good that we wouldn't spoil it here even if we could. You simply have to experience it for yourself. Into this clever yet still pretty basic design, Doom's custodians add all kinds of interesting excess. Glory kills with a slowdown, those melee weapons, our favourite of which is a legit flail, modifiers for the shield, which means that parries are met with a crack that runs through the earth, upsetting everyone nearby, or an auto turret, say, or some other nasty delight. All the weapons you could want, and no reloading. A shotgun and a rocket launcher, of course, another that does lovely things with lasers, and another that you feed skulls into the back of while white-hot shrapnel comes out the other end. Enemies, meanwhile, are giant demons, huge half-crab people, shrouded cultists who can fly, and lots of other things in between. These enemies fill the corridors and kill everything arenas of a campaign that features levels that take you through horrid churches, haunted forests, caves, shipyards, and all sorts. Again, a lot of these areas feel far more open than in any previous Doom game. There are blasted heaths and hellish deserts you track back and forth across as a level progresses, with enemies laid out almost in the formations of advancing armies. It's grand and a step up for a game that once thrived on corridors and monster closets, but only rarely does it get too much and slow things down as you work your way through the meat grinder. And at heart, level design is still all about quick movement from this kill room to the next via a very gentle puzzle or two, and the premise of a secret area now and then. The game is stuffed with secrets, while palette cleansers come in the form of giant mech battles with brawler controls and moments in which you can fly on the back of an actual dragon. Grounded it may be, but it's also winningly breathless stuff. A lot of the time, the Dark Ages campaign feels like it's less the result of developers tweaking mechanics and more like a writer's room for some wild cartoon, each member trying to top one another. The Doomslayer gets inside a massive robot and punches down buildings. Okay, but once he's in that massive robot, give him an equally massive gun. Only at the end is there a sense of the campaign running out of new ideas, but by then you're into the slightly protracted victory lap anyway. In terms of design, it's interesting to see the developers talking about taking the series back to the original games, because the Dark Ages actually reminds us of the games that were inspired by the original Doom games. Stuff like Painkiller with its wide open spaces and inventive splatter, broken up with a range of different kinds of doors. And those doors, they are one of many glinting reminders that Doom hails from another era and isn't trying too hard to hide all that stuff. Levels will drop in blue and red keys to track down like you're playing Gauntlet. Meanwhile, trails of gold work alongside a waypoint marker to lead you through the map's most complex spaces, like you're Mario collecting coins. Mario, Painkiller, Gauntlet, There are touches of that, but also, more than anything, there's Doom. The Dark Ages is nuanced and tweaked, but it is classic Doom, from the way that the camera slides over the ground ever onwards, to the way that your weapons swap out neatly when you're out of ammo and need to change things up. It's weird to think that back in the day, Doom was the game that got parents and politicians worried, where now that mantle goes to Roblox. And that's because today Doom is such a lark, such an obvious bit of finely crafted silliness and fun. The demons are largely in gibs all around you, and even when whole they look like they've stepped off the cover of the most classically minded heavy metal band's LP covers. They're horrible, sure, but they're also filled with a prog rockish charm. It's all so simple, so joyously, generously straight ahead. You're a powerful goodie, you're surrounded by powerful baddies, and you have to finish them all off. Here is a slice of pure gaming charisma that has come to us unfrazzled from a more innocent time. It's a more grounded Doom and one that is as brisk and playful as ever, but most importantly, it's also really good. Thank you so much for watching this review of Doom the Dark Ages. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a like, subscribe to Eurogamer for almost daily videos about video games, and why not check out this other Eurogamer review that is on screen and clickable right now. Goodbye.
Picking up high levels of demonic presence near the forge.